Hello everyone, welcome to Study IQ IAS English channel. My name is Shubham Sagar. Today we'll be talking about an article which is there in The Hindu and which is talking about T and Godavarman versus Union of India case. Why this particular case is in news. And when we are talking about this particular article, there are different terms here like WPA 1972, Wildlife Protection Act 1972. And then we have, Forest Rights Act, we have to talk about that. UPSC loves WPA 1972. They have asked a lot of questions on that. So there are different terms in this article which is important from exam perspective. Once we are done with this article, once we understood the basic intricacies of it, we will solve 3 questions. 2 questions based on this article and 1 PYQ. Fine. So this is the article. What is the SC directive on sacred groves? Supreme Court directive on sacred groves. In simple terms, what are sacred groves? Plants or trees which are, means considered sacred by different groups, and that you can also associate with animism. Animism is worshipping of trees, stones, etc. And here we are worshipping certain trees, so it's a form of animism. So there is a December 18 order which has been given by Supreme Court. What is this particular order? How will it impact, the community people or the tribal people who believe in sacred groves? We'll talk about this. So first of all, as we have discussed, there are so many terms here in this article based on which UPSC has asked a lot of questions in the past. Environment is anyway UPSC's favorite. 2021 questions every year, approximately when you are doing a rough estimation, comes from environment, because IAS and IFS, they both have the same prelims. So this was a question asked in 2023. You can post the answer in the comment section. We'll have a discussion on this later as well. So February 6, 2025, Hindu, page number 8, this particular article is there. Cool. So what is this article all about? Supreme Court's order on December 18, 2024. What Supreme Court is saying? First of all, let me summarize this particular issue for you. The issue is Supreme Court has given an order in this particular December 2024 that all the forest, doesn't matter whether it is a sacred grove or not, or whether it's a small sacred grove or big sacred grove, consider it or categorize it as forest. You have to categorize them as forest. And the issue here is, if we categorize every forest, be it sacred grove, small or big, then forest officials will come into picture, and that will undermine the community ownership structure which tribal people follow. And again, if you watch my 7 p.m. free prelims crash course, so there we have talked about ownership of land concept. You have individual ownership, you have community ownership, and you have royal ownership. These 3 ownerships we know about. Tribal people, they generally follow this community ownership. Many tribal people, they follow community ownership. And here also, when it comes to sacred groves, tribal people, they do, community ownership, and they take care of these sacred groves, especially small. But if we follow the Supreme Court directive, so first of all, let's see this particular directive. Supreme Court directed the Rajasthan Forest Government to map all sacred grove using ground and satellite methods. All. This is the key word here. Doesn't matter whether the sacred grove is small or big rather. Yeah, Bulbul. Good afternoon, Bulbul. So sacred groves were to be identified based on their cultural and ecological significance. Again, there is a keyword here, irrespective of size. It doesn't matter whether the sacred grove is small or big, you have to categorize them, you have to take into consideration, and then later on you have to classify them as forest. And when you are classifying them as forest officials will come into picture. And that is a major bone of contention. So the court order their classification as forest and notification as community reserve. Here you have to understand these terms. What are community reserve? We'll talk about it. Under the WPA 1972. See, when we talk about that, this is a forest and this will be taken care of by community reserve. Most of the people feel like community reserve means the tribal people only. No. When we talk about community reserve, there will be people from Gram Sabha, there will be people from forest officials. So we have to understand these terms. What is community reserve and what will happen when each of these forests will come under community reserve? Will it compromise the tribal ownership of sacred groves or not? That is again a question to ponder upon. So these are the things which we have to understand from exam perspective. This Supreme Court decision of December 2024 transfers sacred groves from community management to forest officialdom for conservation purpose. And this Hindu article is arguing rather whether it contradicts the Forest Rights Act 2006, which was intended to return forest lands to community governance. So please understand one thing, community governance is not equal to community reserve. They are two different things. We have to understand the difference here, and you will understand once this article is done. So sacred groves in Rajasthan, around you have 6 lakh hectares there, and they have different names: Orans, Malvan, Deoghat and Baw. Please remember these names. They can give you these terms, and they are associated with what they can ask you: sacred groves or something else, mangroves, etc., etc. So you have to keep that in mind. What else? Background of the case. Now TN Godavarman versus Union of India case comes here, and this is a case of 1995-1996. What is this case saying? The Supreme Court ruled that forest land includes all areas recorded as forests regardless of ownership. So this TN Godavarman case started this whole thing. That doesn't matter what is the ownership, whether it is a community owned forest, tribal owned forest, doesn't matter. If it has certain amount of, trees, then it will be classified as forest regardless of the size. And that contradicts with the community ownership structure of tribal people of sacred groves. So Rajasthan, then there were certain states which tried to bypass this TN Godavarman case. Rajasthan was one among them. And Rajasthan 2004 expert committee identified only, again pay attention here, only large sacred groves, 5+ hectares, 200+ trees per hectare as forest. Because if they classify even small, groves as forest officials will come into picture, and that thing will not be liked by tribal people because they like their autonomy, they like their community ownership concept. Then Supreme Court, CSE came into picture. They were like, dude, you are violating TN Godavarman case and their verdict. Supreme Court CSE, Central Empowered Committee, disagreed, arguing that this definition was too narrow and you are excluding small sacred groves. You cannot do that. They should also be included inside the forest definition. In 2018, the Supreme Court ordered Rajasthan to implement the CSE's recommendation. In early 2024, Rajasthan has started doing that, but again, they are trying to ensure that some amount of tribal ownership remains, community ownership remains, and they were trying to exclude some sacred groves. That is what this article is saying. So culture and ecological importance of sacred groves, they are community managed patches, and again here in some areas you worship neem tree, people tree, all these trees. There are different people, different communities who worship different kind of trees. So they are biodiversity hotspots, serve as sources of herbal medicine, and here these points can help you in writing a mains answer. They play a key role in preventing floods. Even they can give you in pre also which of these are features of sacred groves. Sacred groves exist across India under various names, and we have seen what they are called in Rajasthan. They preserve oral tradition, cultural identities and spiritual practices. Now this is an important term. Most of the people feel like the community ownership of tribal structure, or the tribal people rather, is our community reserve. They are not community reserve. When you are classifying every sacred grove as, let's say, forest, they will come under community reserve. And here there will be a community reserve management committee which will be formed, including Gram Sabha members, and see here, forest wildlife department representatives, and these guys represent in a way forest officials, which is a bone of contention. So here again you are seeing what are community reserves. They were introduced to conserve community, and they were introduced under WPA 2002, Wildlife Protection Act 2002. Under this they were included. They were introduced rather, community reserve. Local communities are responsible for preventing WPA offences. Land use changes require approval from a community reserve management committee, and we have seen this community reserve management committee along with Gram Sabha members, it also includes wildlife department representatives. Fine. The Supreme Court recommended that the Union Environment Ministry map all sacred groves nationwide and develop governance policy. Fine. So now there is a conflict with Forest Rights Act. Here what is happening? WPA 2002 and FRA 2006 are, colliding to a certain extent, and Supreme Court directives are again confusing the matter to a certain extent, or making the matter somewhat more complicated, so to say. So under the FRA, sacred groves should be part of community forest resources managed by Gram Sabhas. This is what Forest Rights Act is saying. Supreme Court is saying something else. FRA gives Gram Sabhas statutory authority to protect, conserve and manage these forests. Gram Sabhas must form their own committee, and that will include the local people. Fine. So conflict with the Forest Rights Act. Sacred groves in forest areas are already under Gram Sabha's jurisdiction. Any attempt to notify sacred grove as forest land outside existing forest means they will come under, the community reserve, they will come under the forest officials, and again that will contradict. The Supreme Court order to classify sacred groves as community reserves contradicts the FRA's objective of empowering local communities. So you have to now say your view. What is your view regarding it? Whether Supreme Court judgment, the 2024 judgment, the earlier 1995-96 judgment, whether it is actually, contradicting or in a way, not supporting the empowerment of local communities. So what is your view on this? You can post it in the comment section. So let's try to understand the gist. I know this article may have become a little complicated. So let's try to summarize it via these 4 points. What is the first point? Supreme Court ordered Rajasthan Forest Government in December 2024 to map and classify sacred groves as forest and community reserve. Fine. Under the WPA 2002-1972. So this order shifts control of sacred groves from community-based management to forest department. The decision conflicts with the FRA, which recognizes community rights over forest resources, and this shift in control from community protection to forest department could undermine the traditional governance of these areas. So these are the points which you have to keep in mind. These are actually very important points. Whether we are undermining community ownership concept of tribal areas, whether we are undermining the community ownership of sacred groves, whether we are again introducing forest officials into an area considered sacrosanct by tribal people. So these are the questions which we must answer. So now there are 3 questions in front of you. This is the first question. You can post your answer in the comment section if you know something about this question. Based on this particular article, sacred groves are community managed forest patches that are conserved due to their cultural and religious significance. Supreme Court recently directed all sacred groves in Rajasthan to be classified as community reserve under WPA 1972. And then sacred groves are only found in Rajasthan. So whatever is your answer, you can post it in the comment section. The second question is this. With reference to Forest Rights Act 2006, consider the following statement. You have 2 statements. FRA recognized the rights of forest dwelling communities over forest resources, including sacred groves. Under the FRA, Gram Sabhas have the authority to manage and protect community forest resources. Here you don't have forest officialdom, right? That is what they're saying, and you have to say which of these statements are correct. Again, if you know it, you can post it in the comment section. The third question, which was based on 2023 UPSC prelims, that is, this is a PYQ rather. WPA 1972, there are 6 schedules there. First and second schedule, maximum protection to animals and maximum penalty. Third and fourth schedule, lesser punishment, if you are killing particular animal, and lesser penalties. Fifth schedule, vermins, which can be culled, which can be killed. And the sixth schedule is plants which are prohibited from cultivation. So again, according to Wildlife Protection Act, which of the following elements can be hunted? They are asking about Schedule 5 by local communities under Schedule 5. They have written it here. Indian wild boar, Asiatic lion, Himalayan black bear. Again, if you know it, you can post it in the comment section. Whatever is your answer. Bulbul has given some answer. Very good here. So A1 only, B2 and 3, C1 and 3, D none. 2023 UPSC prelims. So that was this article. Hope you understood the contradiction, the dilemmas which are there, why Supreme Court is giving the verdict, what they have given in December 2024, how it is related to T N Godavarman case, and whether it would undermine, community ownership in of tribal people in the area surrounding sacred groves or not. That is the question to ponder upon. So that's it from my side. Whatever is your view, you can post it in the comment section. Keep it civil. These are not our views or my views or your views. These are the views of experts, whatever has been stated and Supreme Court's directive. So whatever is your view, you can post it in the